From the studios of Farm Journal Broadcast, this is AgDay.
Coming up today on AgDay, we check in on the cotton harvest in Louisiana.
This may be the best cotton crop we've had since 2013 and 2014 crop.
Farmers may not be getting as much aid following tariffs as first thought, but what do they think about it?
It was a kick in the crotch for the dairy industry.
And Hurricane Michael brings with it powerful winds and rain and possible crop losses.
AgDay, brought to you by the Chevy Silverado, the most dependable, longest-lasting full-size pickups on the road.
Good morning, I'm Betsy Gibbon. Clinton is on assignment. Happening right now, Hurricane Michael, now a tropical storm after making landfall in the Florida Panhandle. Florida Governor Rick Scott says state authorities are now focusing on the recovery effort. He's activated up to 3,500 members of the Florida National Guard. Right now, heavy rain is falling in Georgia with the possibility of 90-mile-per-hour winds. It's a worry for farmers in the state who have cotton to pick and peanuts to harvest. Cotton harvest just beginning. USDA saying 12% of the cotton crop has been harvested in the state, 2% below the state's 5-year average. Strong winds and heavy rain, not good news for the crop since cotton bolls are open. That's why Leary, Georgia grower and part gin owner Jimmy Webb is worried Michael will slice the Georgia cotton crop.
I think you could see a minimum 25% lost cotton. It could be a lot worse. It depends upon what kind of wind we do get. A 100-mile-an-hour wind would be devastating with the rain. It's just coming at such a critical time for harvest. Everybody was fixing to be right in the middle of harvest. Really bad, just bad timing. It's going to hurt.
USDA saying 38% of the Georgia peanut crop is harvested. That's ahead of the state's 5-year average and ahead of overall peanut harvest in the top producing states this year. Webb says growers are harvesting the peanut crop first in his area since it's more of a salvageable crop. And there are other weather problems happening across the country that are making headlines. Check out this picture. Yep, that's snow. This was taken by Peter Ness. He lives in Sharon, North Dakota. Obviously not ideal during harvest time. The National Weather Service saying up to 5 inches of snow expected to fall in central South Dakota and up to 6 inches in south central and eastern North Dakota. Then rain continuing to be an issue in Iowa, Missouri, and Kansas. Chuck Weldon sharing this picture from North Missouri. He says they've seen just shy of 12 inches of rain since last Thursday. And to think, just a short time ago, this area was under a drought. Meteorologist Cindy Clausen has more on what all that rain is doing to the soybean crop in today's Crop Comments. Good morning, Cindy.
Thanks, Betsy. We're starting to see problems in the Midwest when it comes to soybeans and all of that rain the area has had. Take a look at this picture sent in by Jeff White in Kansas. You can see the soybeans are already shelling out. He says the beans haven't been dry in 6 days and estimates 8 inches of rain has fallen. Jeff says, quote, "This is going to be bad." Well, let's take a look at the winds over the next 24 to 36 hours, and we're going to be seeing some fairly strong winds up in the Great Lakes, and then of course from Michael, and that'll be moving through the southeastern United States. Heading through the daytime hours we go, and you'll see the same situation, mainly the Great Lakes in the southeast. Things picking up a little bit over towards the Four Corners region as well. Heading into the overnight, we'll see Michael starting to move offshore. We'll still see some winds on the tail end, though. We'll start to see the winds picking up as we get into tomorrow as the system comes into the northwestern United States from Canada. We'll have your national forecast coming up in just a little bit. Betsy?
Producers getting hit hard by the trade war with China may not get as much aid as expected. Reuters reporting the $12 billion package designed to offset farmers' losses could end up shrinking. That's after the agreement to update NAFTA, called USMCA, was struck with Mexico and Canada. U.S. Agricultural Secretary Sonny Perdue told Reuters if the tariffs come off and the impact of those tariffs lessens, it will have some impact on the aid payments. That's because those payments were related to the damage caused by the tariffs. In a phone interview with Reuters, Perdue said, quote, "We will be recalculating along as we go." Some farmers telling AgDay the payments are not enough.
Corn's a joke. He shouldn't even, it's penny for on half of your production.
I'm behind him The tariff subsidy money, or whatever they put on it, it was a kick in the crotch for the dairy industry.
However, despite the potential USMCA deal, steel and aluminum tariffs are still in place right now. That means retaliatory tariffs on some U.S. ag products could continue.
The deal matters longer term, but in the short term, what we were hoping is to see those tariffs against our exports lifted. That has yet to happen. There's still some concern here that there's no timetable yet for lifting those tariffs.
The potential USMCA agreement is not a done deal. It needs to be approved by the leader of each of the three countries, the United States, Mexico, and Canada. Farm states are now looking to benefit from a Trump administration plan to allow year-round sales of gas with a higher blend of ethanol. The Environmental Protection Agency currently bans E15 during the summer. That's because of concerns that it contributes to smog on hot days. But advocates for the ethanol industry say that claim is unfounded. You watched this live on AgDay's Twitter feed earlier this week. The president talking more about his plan for year-round sales of E15 during a campaign rally in Council Bluffs, Iowa. Ag Secretary Sonny Perdue releasing a statement ahead of the rally, calling the plan an excellent way to use high corn productivity and improved yields.
And my administration is protecting ethanol, all right? That's what you want to hear. Today, we are unleashing the power of E15 to fuel our country all year long, not 8 months, all year long.
The oil industry opposes year-round sales of E15. It warns high ethanol gasoline can damage car engines and fuel systems. And a bipartisan group of lawmakers oppose expanded sales of high ethanol gas, calling the approach misguided. An outbreak of classical swine fever is being reported in a remote area of Brazil, but Brazilian authorities are downplaying it. The agricultural ministry is saying the discovery will have no impact on the country's hog industry or pork exports. Officials also adding there is no risk of the disease impacting the country's main production area. We've been hearing this year's crop would be big, but just how big?
Some farmers in central Illinois are raking in record yields. How could that impact USDA's October supply and demand report? We'll have that report today from the field.
And something strange spotted in a lake, and this creature was really out of place. The details coming up.
Ag Day, brought to you by Instinct and N-Serve nitrogen stabilizers. They don't just stabilize nitrogen, they maximize it, so crops deliver the max in return. Learn more at maxinmaxout.com.
Soybean futures took a hit during Wednesday's trading session. Let's see how the markets closed on the floor of the CME.
Soybeans really fell today. The concerns about the bearish WASDE report has everyone liquidating some of their positions. The slower harvest pace also could alter what's been expected by the analysts, and I think that there is some real worry that the carryout estimate is way too low, and if that number comes in big, or maybe over 900 million metric tons, it's going to be really a bearish day after that report comes out tomorrow at 11.
USDA will release a bevy of reports today, but all eyes will be on crop production. Just how big will the crop be this harvest? Tyne Morgan gets some pre-report analysis from the fields of Illinois.
Here now with Matt Bennett of Bennett Consulting, who is also a farmer in Illinois. Matt, ahead of this USDA report today, you're in the field, the heat of harvest. I know you expected yields to be pretty good, but how good are they?
You know, our yields here in central Illinois are awfully good, better than what we expected in some places, especially with regards to soybeans. Now, one thing that we're hearing quite a bit from producers is, you know, our corn ended up being kind of what we thought it was going to be. It's pretty darn good. Maybe not record, but similar to 2014, whereas soybeans have exceeded most people's expectations that we've talked to. And I think I've probably heard that more so than I'm not.
But are you seeing record corn yields here in central Illinois?
Yes, we're seeing record corn and soybean yields here in central Illinois.
So then how do you expect that to play into this USDA report today?
Right, I think the report that's coming here, you're probably going to see the corn go up a little bit as far as yield's concerned, but I don't think it's going to be a whole lot. I would expect to be under 182, maybe a 181.7 or 8 is about where I'm going to be. As far as soybeans go, though, I think you go up 1.5 bushels. I think that you could go up quite a bit with regards to soybeans. You're hearing a lot of outlandish yields, and it's fairly consistent.
So real quick with corn then, if we even have a little tick higher in that corn yield, how well do you think the market absorbs that?
Well, you know, you've seen 2 reports in a row, the September report, and then you saw the quarterly stocks report. We had bearish information, corn market got hit pretty hard, and then we were able to rally back. I think that some people are probably looking for a little bit of a pullback, maybe as a bit of a buying opportunity. You're getting close to halfway done with harvest, and I think that a lot of times you see a little bit of support there, and I think this year could be the very same thing.
What about soybeans? If we see a 1.5 bushel increase, can soybean prices afford that right now?
Well, I don't even know, to be honest with you. The soybean market's so hard to figure it out. We've thrown a lot of bearish information at the soybean market, and people thought that they could go down another $1 or 2, yet we're sitting here 50 cents off the lows. Your guess is as good as mine, but I do think that if the soybean market gets hit very hard, you're going to see a significant amount of demand pop up.
All right, well, we'll see that report expected out at noon today. Matt Bennett, thank you so much. As you heard, better than expected yields playing out not only here in central Illinois, but a lot of his clients across the Corn Belt. So we'll see how that plays into the USDA report today. Reporting from central Illinois, I'm Tyne Morgan for AgDay.
For advice on the best way to be profitable on your farm, contact Matt at 217-273-1133. Join Andrew McCrae for Farming the Countryside, a farmer-focused podcast that is all about production agriculture. Farming the Countryside is available wherever you listen to your favorite podcast and is brought to you by Nutrien Ag Solutions, the world's largest provider of crop inputs and services.
Welcome back to Ag Day with meteorologist Cindy Clausen. Cindy, we know Michael has made landfall. Lots of rain. What else can we expect?
Well, it's going to still be wreaking a little havoc in the southeastern United States today, but eventually that's going to move off the North Atlantic. But let's take a look at what else is happening. And while Michael is going to be moving offshore later on tonight, we're going to see this cold front then right behind it. Notice the low pressure system that's going to be bringing some very cold air and maybe even a few flakes to the upper Great Lakes states. We start to dry out briefly as we head into much of the plain states, but boy, is it going to be a lot colder on the backside of this front. Notice we'll see some scattered showers. Upper elevation snow in parts of the Four Corners region and into the rest of the Rockies. This is Tropical Storm Sergio, and that's going to be making landfall in Mexico. So we're going to see some of that moisture moving into the southwest. Little disturbance that's going to be moving through the plains, giving some rain, maybe a little bit of snow on the northern side of that, while the front starts to move off of the east coast. And then we're going to really be focusing on a system that's going to be coming into the northern plain states, bringing some rain and maybe a little snow with that as well. Precipitation over the last 24 hours, obviously the big focus has been Michael, but of course we've had a pretty wet day over a lot of the eastern parts of the country. Let's add the next 24 hours and it's really going to be Michael, and some of these heavier amounts are at least 10 inches estimated, and we'll probably see some higher amounts in spots as well. Over the Great Lakes into the northeast, fairly wet in the eastern half of the country. Of course, we'll start to see some more rain in parts of the plains, and you can see Sergio moving into parts of the southwest. As far as snowfall, we're going to be seeing especially Minnesota, eastern North Dakota, and then parts of the Rockies seeing a little snow there as well. Temperature-wise, big difference once that cold front pushes through. We're looking at highs in the 40s for a lot of the upper Midwest, 40s, 50s, maybe even some 60s in parts of the Corn Belt. Watch what happens though as we get into the overnight and then on into tomorrow. It really gets cold. 20s and 30s for overnight lows. We'll see those lows getting down into the 50s and even some 60s in much of the southern part of the country, but we're only seeing highs in the 40s, even upper 30s. Look at that, St. Louis, only 47 degrees. That is way, way cool for this time of the year. Still remaining warm across the very southern part of the United States. All right, as far as that jet stream is concerned, you can see that trough that's going to be moving across the country. The very cold air in the north central United States. We've got that big ridge that's going to be developing in the far west. Look how high that goes. We're going to see some really warm air as we get into next week. About this time next week, we're going to see some very warm air in much of the west. Well, it's going to be very cold, especially over towards the Great Lakes. That's a look at your national forecast. Now let's check out the weather where you live. Culver, Oregon, abundant sunshine for you today with a high temperature of 57 degrees. Ulysses, Kansas, mostly cloudy. Look for some rain later today with a high of 47. And Pittsville, Maryland, showers and thunderstorms with a high of 82.
Look what was spotted in a lake. This isn't somewhere in the south. This is near Waukegan, Illinois, in Lake Michigan, and that is an alligator. Animal control officers are now trying to determine who abandoned the creature. It was found with its mouth kept shut by rubber bands. Rescuers say although the gator was weak, she has a pretty good chance of survival. This isn't the first time someone dropped off a wild animal in Lake Michigan. A few years ago, someone abandoned a 14-foot python on the lakefront. Well, people say they want more protein in their diets, but how much do they really know about protein and where to get it? What a new study shows about our buying habits next.
AgDay, brought to you by new Delaro fungicide for corn and soybeans. Achieve personal best yields.
Consumers are choosing meat, eggs, and dairy as primary sources of protein, but one study finds while consumers may want protein, they don't quite understand it. According to Nielsen, 55% of households say high protein is now an important attribute to consider when buying food for their households. The company is saying it noticed a protein perception problem after surveying more than 20,000 people and asked how much protein is in certain foods.
In a study that obtained responses from more than 20,000 Americans, Nielsen's found that what it calls blockbuster protein sources, such as beef, pork, and chicken, did not score well in the minds of consumers, even though they're all high-protein products. Between 45% and 64% of respondents did not consider beef, pork, or chicken to be high in protein.
78% of respondents say they believe peanut butter is higher in protein than what it actually is, and a majority of consumers did not recognize cottage cheese as a high-protein food when the protein count is quite high. The world's largest meat packer is expanding in an effort to keep up with a surge in demand. Drovers reports JBS SA will invest $12 million into 2 of its facilities in Brazil. It's in an effort to double beef production. Industry analysts say the facilities are the main producers of beef that is exported to China. Both facilities have already added a second shift, and now they will be adding new jobs. According to JBS officials, the company's beef exports to China increased by as much as 125% compared to last year. And a cattle herd in Michigan is reported to have bovine tuberculosis. The herd is located in the northeast part of the state in Alcona County. The herd was identified through routine testing. Michigan has had a number of bovine TB cases in the past. It's mostly due to white-tailed deer carrying the disease. Coming up, we look in on the cotton harvest. Why this Louisiana crop may be one of the best in recent memory in the country.
Your next piece of equipment is on MachineryPete.com. Search equipment from dealerships across the country to find what you're looking for. Only on MachineryPete.com. In the Country, sponsored by Kubota. Tractors, hay tools, utility vehicles, mowers, and more. Visit KubotaUSA.com today.
Cotton is coming in. Check out this video North Gin of Texas shared on Twitter. You see here the first bale of the year coming off the line. Cotton harvesting is also in full swing across Louisiana. Producers are hopeful this year's crop will wipe away the disappointment of the last 2 seasons. LSU Ag Center correspondent Craig Gautreaux has the report.
Planes are spraying, pickers are picking, and gins across Louisiana are ginning the 2018 cotton crop. This year's crop has the potential to be an excellent one.
60 to 70% of the crop is considered anywhere from good to excellent, and some preliminary yield reports, especially from up in the northeastern part of the state, are kind of scary, really scary good.
The 2 previous seasons were plagued by tropical storms and heavy insect and disease pressure. Growing conditions were not ideal for northwest Louisiana, but the rest of the state appears to have a bumper crop.
This may be the best cotton crop we've had since 2013 and 2014 crop, which were our all-time best cotton crops.
And farmers need those high yields. Cotton prices have increased slightly, but other commodity prices have fallen.
Past years we've relied heavily on soybean and corn prices to kind of help us survive, but at this time, those prices are down as well.
While the cotton looks good in the fields, farmers must still get it harvested and to the gins before they are paid. Until then, it is still at risk to the weather.
Get in the field as early as you can in the morning and go as late as you can at night, simply because it rains quite frequently here across the state.
Frommie expects farmers to complete the harvest by the end of October. With the LSU Ag Center, this is Craig Gautreaux reporting.
Louisiana has about 180,000 acres of cotton this year, but because of the success of this year's crop, Fromme expects to see an increase next year. Well, that's all the time we have this morning. We're glad you tuned in. For all of us here at Ag Day, I'm Betsy Gibbon. Have a great day.